Inclusive Research Podcast, VIR. I'm your host, Dr. Ren, founder of Diverse Research Now. And today you will hear the voice of Judy Galindo. Judy is a first-generation bilingual Latina and the executive director and co-owner of Sun Valley Research Center, a private clinical research site located in Imperial County, California. Judy is passionate about advancing equity in clinical research and ensuring that all providers and patients are aware of clinical research. She continues to champion efforts that make clinical trials more accessible, inclusive, and representative of all patient populations, especially within her own community. I'm super excited to finally talk with Judy today. We've been talking for a while. So let's get started. How are you doing today, Judy?
I'm good. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, finally. We've been colleagues for a little while and doing this amazing work. I remember coming to visit your site. I think, was that like last year?
I think it was like the year before, maybe, right?
Oh my, has it been that long already?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. So I drove out to Imperial County to see Judy's site. Amazing site, very comfortable feel, like just really inviting to the community. And so tell us more about your work, more about you, what you want us to know. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I've been in the industry for a little over 20 years. I started back as a research assistant, very minimal task as a research assistant for a sleep disorders clinic. I'm back in college. And that's when I just discovered clinical research. I did not know that existed. I was a bio major pre-med. I knew there was lab research, outside research, and I knew, things are created in the lab, it's developed, you get a pill, but from the pill to FDA approval, that whole section was missing. Like we didn't get taught that in school. And so when I discovered the sleep disorders clinic, I realized there was this whole industry that existed that I didn't even know. And so I started literally at the bottom up and moved my way up and had the opportunity to open a research center about 17 years ago with two psychiatrists in Imperial County, which is Sun Valley Research Center, and continued that center. And then several years ago, separated from one of the psychiatrists and just continued it with the other one, which is Dr. Ng, our main PI at this moment, focused on psychiatry CNS studies because our PI is a board certified psychiatrist. He has his private clinic. He's always had his private clinic. He's been in the community for over 30 years. And so that was the easiest thing to start with, right? Clinical research. We work with children, adolescents, adults, elderly patients. It is in a community where it's about 75% Latinos or higher. It's a border town into Mexico. The town, when you cross the border, is Mexicali. It's a very common border towns for people to go back and forth. They live across the border. They work in the U.S., vice versa. A lot of people have family across the border. So it's very common. And so that's just our community. And because of that, we have a lot of Spanish speakers in our community or bilingual speakers who prefer to speak more Spanish versus English, especially the older patient population. So, from the beginning, since we started, we knew we always had to add Spanish materials for everything that we did. This was 17 years ago. That was before all these acronyms, DEI, and who knows what is out there. We were always recruiting Latino patients back in the day. And we started initially with only one staff. Now we have multiple staff. But over the years, we've learned how to kind of engage the community a lot more, right? Do what we're doing, ensure that we target the people, ensure that we get the message out there. And even then, to this day, we haven't reached everyone. So that's, kind of where we're at 17 years later. Did a lot of CNS studies, but now we're transitioning to multi-specialty. So that's kind of where we're at. We're trying to grow that component of it because nobody else is doing research in our community and nobody's doing psych CNS research. A lot of other therapeutic conditions are not, nobody's doing it. So since we are the most established, experienced research center there, it would be us the most feasible thing to do more research, right, in our community. And so we have a lot of doctors interested, and that's kind of where we're at right now, trying to grow our research center.
Now, when you say there's no one in your community doing this, what do you mean?
So I believe one of the local hospitals during COVID was doing some COVID studies and some very complex, maybe cancer studies here and there. I don't know where they're at with that. I haven't really heard much. And I know there were some changes with the two hospitals going on. So I'm not sure if they continued in research. I think there maybe is a nephrologist that was doing some research that's connected to a San Diego research center. They have like two locations, but They're never in the community. So if there's one or two doing something, either they're recruiting from their database, but they're not in the community. They're not sharing information about
Yeah.
research. They're not
Yeah.
connecting with people. So because of that, most of the providers, physicians in our communities are not familiar, do not work in research. So they're not talking to their patients about
Right.
research. So
Exactly.
how do we change that,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Tell me exactly what city in Imperial County you're in, and like give me a idea of like where your site is. Like what
Yeah.
cities are
So
close? Like
right. Imperial County is about 2 hours east of San Diego. So if you go to San Diego and you're heading to Arizona, right before you get to Yuma, Arizona, about 45 minutes before, you'll get to Imperial County. So you're
okay.
going to pass Imperial County. We're also close to the sand dunes. So if anybody's into off-roading, it's a very popular place to go. That's not too far
Uh-huh.
from Imperial County. There's different where people go off-roading. I think the season just started for that. So yeah, we're close to Arizona, like I mentioned, 45 minutes away, close to the border to Mexico. Probably from our office to get to the border, it's probably like 20 minutes if there was no
Oh,
traffic. Probably 2 to 3 hours from the LA Palm Springs area as
okay.
well. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I remember driving out and was like, where is this place?
Yeah.
So, but Imperial County is not a county, it's the actually city name. It's the
Yeah,
city
so
name.
it is a county. It is a county.
Oh,
So Imperial
okay.
County is a county, but within Imperial County, you have the city of Imperial, city of El Centro, city of
Okay.
Calexico, city of Brawley, and then a few others, but those are
Okay.
some of the main ones, right?
Okay. Okay. So being located out there
Mhm.
in is this area, and you've been there for 17 years, so you know.
Yes.
Is this an often overlooked area in research? It
Yeah.
sounds like it because, like you
Yeah.
said, it's not much of research going on out there. So, how are you taking steps to like shape out the outreach and
Yeah.
recruitment? Like, how are you doing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it is an overlooked area because it is a smaller community. It's
Mhm.
not as huge as like San Diego County or
Mhm.
LA, Riverside counties, right? That everybody is more familiar with. But there are a lot of patients out there that are struggling with a lot of conditions. There's a lot of health disparities because there's limited access to a lot of services. We have great
Mhm.
physicians, great providers there, but there's very few of them that are seeing a large percentage of these patients, right?
Mhm.
And so then I think when you have that, you have limited access to certain services, or it's harder to get in to get seen for a specific thing, right? For something very complex or I guess life changing, if there might not be those services in Imperial County, so you have to drive out to like San Diego where there's a
Yeah.
lot more specialists for certain things, or maybe Arizona or LA. That's hard on people because that's a 2 hour commute or more, and that's not always feasible for everybody to do to get
Right.
treatment for something that they really need.
Yeah.
So I guess what I do in research is that we've grown so much and we've established ourselves in the psych CNS space that we can screen, we can enroll, we
Good.
have quality data, we have clean data. Our
Yeah.
monitors love to come visit us in
Yeah.
because they know it's an easy visit. Like they can go
Yeah.
through everything, and if some minor stuff comes up, we'll fix it. There's nothing major, at our site that goes on with the studies that's an issue. So they can rely on our site. Now we've invested all that time in the psych CNS space to grow ourselves in the community. So now we want to transition and bring on the other therapeutic areas, especially conditions that affect patients in Imperial County, like
Yeah.
diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and several other things. And so that's kind of where I'm trying to bring more visibility to Imperial County.
And so I love that. I always say this, that you have to know your community. And so you have to know what your community is dealing with, like what health conditions is your
Exactly.
community is high in your community. I'm so happy to hear that you actually did that research and those are the type of studies that you're going for. That makes so much
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So we're starting to collaborate with a few, like an internal medicine doctor, a dermatologist, an OBGYN, and we're starting to understand what their database looks like, right? Just because that's their specialty doesn't mean they have a large database of every single condition
Right?
that they technically would treat, right? So what are the larger number of patients that they have in the database, and what are the conditions that they're dealing with a lot, right? What are the
Yeah.
conditions they're seeing all
Yep.
the time? Those are the studies we want to bring to them because
That
we
is
want to
so
bring this
makes sense.
alternative opportunity to the community And that's what we're trying to focus on. And, to grow and expand that, it requires a lot of staff, right? A lot of investment, a lot of going back to the sponsors and be like, okay, we work with you in the psych CNS space. Now, how about this other space? How do we go into this space with the same company? And so that's kind of what we're working on right now, is just growing that visibility and exposure on other therapeutic conditions that we can work on.
And that makes so much sense to me, because you're not trying to be like a second option to standard of care. Like, we want people to still get their standard of care.
Yeah.
But you want to bring in these research studies that are going to try to answer the questions for the community.
Yes.
Like,
And another option to
Yeah.
the physician. So, for example, our internal medicine, he's doing a lot. There's a lot of things he does. He's all about wellness and trying to stay healthy. So he
Yeah.
offers a lot of different things aside from just the regular stuff, treatments he's doing. So
Yeah.
we want to integrate research and be like, here's another
Yeah.
option you can have for your
It's an
patients.
option.
Yeah. It's not
an
going to be for
option.
everyone, but you might have some here and there that you think would benefit from this study, and you're going to recommend it. So we want to place those studies there. And that's what we're trying to do with our internal medicine and the other physicians we're working with, and kind of have this collaboration with them. So
Yeah.
we're bringing more to your clinic so you can offer more and be able to help your patients with another option.
Yeah. So the site, you being a site owner, is not the only thing that you're doing. You're doing a lot to make sure that clinical research is more inclusive. So I
Right.
know that you are co-founder to Latinos in Clinical Research. You also are involved in the Clinical Research Circle, the Save Our Sites, SOS.
Yes.
And you also just opened a site in Mexico, or co-founded a
Yeah.
site in Mexico. Tell us
So
more.
I guess with the Mexico site, I became more recently, several months ago, strategic partner of a site in Mexico called Vertex Clinical Research Mexico, and with a few other partners in Mexico, as well as another colleague. And so that we recently had the grand opening, we got to travel to there. It's in San Luis Potosí. Headman is the one that's, overseeing it with the staff, and they actually already have a sample study that they're starting to work on. They had their SIV, I think, like over a week ago. But it's located in a community where there's a lot of research opportunity that can come to Mexico.
Good.
A lot of experienced physicians. Some of these physicians have worked on research studies in the past. So it's a really good setup, and I'm looking forward to seeing that grow and hopefully get more studies to Mexico. So that's just one of them. But yeah.
No, tell me more about the other initiatives, because these initiatives are super important. I want to know, like, what's been the impact with these initiatives, what they're all about, and how you guys are trying to impact this field.
Yeah, so Latinos in Clinical Research came about during, I think, the end of 2020. A few of us just came together in the industry. Most of us are site owners. One is a monitor in the industry for a large pharma company. And then we realized, there's all these barriers that we're still encountering, right, with recruiting patients in the communities that we're in. Some of us work with, diverse patients or Latino patients. And then we keep talking about the same topics. So what could we do? So we're like, well, let's come together. We don't have an organization for Latinos in clinical research. Let's create this. And with the purpose of educating the community and getting more patients into clinical research, but also getting more people into the clinical research workforce from different backgrounds, not just Latinos and other backgrounds, because we feel there needs to be a diverse perspective at all levels in our industry with all vendors, sponsors, CROs, because I think that is going to further what we're doing. And that's going to help get more people into clinical research as patients. That's going to help understand what we need to do in our communities because of all the things we haven't been able to do in the past. That's what it came about. So we came together. We do webinars every once in a while. We're trying to connect a lot of Latino sites and organizations, collaborate with them and do more. And then with the past couple of years, we connected with and came together to form Save Our Sites. So Save Our Sites is an annual conference that we host. We're actually planning our third one in March 2026. And with that came together to bring, all these sites together to connect, collaborate, but also bring sponsors, CROs to come to these conferences to have these discussions with the sites on what they need. If you're looking for more sites in these communities and you're looking to place your studies, like more direct conversations, but in a smaller, intimate setting. and not in a massive conference setting. Because over the past years, a lot of these conferences have grown too large that you don't really always get that networking BD experience that you're
Oh,
looking
let's
for.
talk about it, girl. Because yes,
Yeah. And we're still
it's
dealing as science.
overwhelming
Yeah.
sometimes.
It is overwhelming. And so it's a little too much. So we're like, well, what if we bring it back in a smaller setting? We're really focused on the topics, the purpose, who we're inviting, who we're allowing. We're bringing on as sponsors to go through and discuss some of these issues. We continue recruitment delays and issues with contracts and budgets and issues with other things, or how can we learn from others who are doing it great, and maybe we can improve. Those that need to improve what they're doing can connect with each other. And I think I've noticed over the past couple of years myself, connecting with various other people in the industry has helped me improve what I'm doing, has helped me think about different things that maybe we should do just based on what I'm exposed to. And I think that's important because we're always innovating, right? We're always innovating. We're always learning. We're always trying to do it better. You're never going to keep doing the same thing or else it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think thinking outside the box, it's just overdue. Like it's time for us to think outside the box and really come up with new solutions.
It is. Yeah, and I think a lot of us have and are open to it, but there's a lot of people in our industry that unfortunately are still stuck in trying to do the same thing they were doing. And it could be, depending what organization they're working with, they're just more strict policies that they have to follow versus if you have your own sign, you're the site owner, you might have more lenience on what you can do, right? But I think if things are not working at the higher up level with all the studies, you got to change it. You got to change it. You got to revamp the system. Like, I'm just going to talk about recruitment in general. Why do we keep using the same central recruitment vendors if they are not working for every single site? They might be working for some, but they're not working for every. Why do we keep using the same companies? Why do we not go back to the sites and just provide more support and give them the money they need to do what they need to do that they're experts on in their community? Why can't we do that?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times historically, my career has been in academia, the larger like academic sites and stuff. That's where I've come from. And I just feel like the policies and the red tape, everything just has to go. Look, your SOP, you got to follow SOP. And that's the SOPs. And no one wants to like challenge that. And no one wants to change it.
And the thing is, I'm a challenger. If you tell me no and I don't like the answer, I'm going to try to get the no to a yes because I don't like the answer. And I think it can be different. I've always been like that. And I kind of try to, teach my staff like that too. If it doesn't sound right, like question it.
If it doesn't make sense.
Like if we can do something else, question it. I feel like a lot of times we just go back and we want to reference a policy or SOP, but they don't even know why they're saying it. They're just so used to saying like, oh, because of this. Okay, but really, that doesn't make sense. So I need a better answer.
Times have changed. And we have to be able to move with the changes. Like those SOPs might have been written years ago when, but now we have different goals. We have different things that we're trying to do. And we have to be open to different strategies.
Yeah. I think we got to be more customized. So I think that's the issue in our industry is that we're not customizing our approaches to the sites. Not every site and every community is the same. Like I worked in San Diego and then I work in Imperial County now. It's completely different doing research in San Diego than Imperial County, like night and day, actually. Different things would work in San Diego that do not work in Imperial County.
I say this all the time. I say this all the time.
But you have to be aware of that and like change the strategies, customize your approach. And if you're not customizing that relationship approach with the site, you're going to continue to experience, for example, recruitment delays. And guess what? That's costing you a lot of money. In the end, the money you spent on the delays, would it have been cheaper for you to customize the approach from day one? Probably, but we don't do it. And like some are doing it, but not everybody.
Yeah, I feel like that it takes time. It takes some effort, right? And sometimes they don't want to put in the time and effort. I feel like they'll rather lose the money. And it's just like, that doesn't make sense. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, it doesn't. And, like I've never worked at the sponsor CRO level, and I'm sure there's a lot of intricacies that we don't even have to deal with or know that makes things more complex. But I feel it shouldn't be so complicated. But then I also feel like sometimes there's people in some of these positions that make the situation worse. So instead of being advocates on their role and helping sites, they're doing the opposite. And we need to change that too, because that's not okay. So if you're, for example, you have some kind of community engagement role or recruitment plan, whatever, I don't know what the titles are right now, you should be focused on working with sites to ensure you're getting that done. But that's not happening with some studies and sponsoring CROs. So then why do you have that role? Like if you're not doing anything with it.
Exactly.
Or maybe you shouldn't have that role and you should do something else. I don't know.
Well, that's touchy. That's touchy.
I have a different perspective, and I feel like I can speak to this because I have these
Yep.
conversations daily and weekly. Like, this
Yep.
is not stuff I'm making up.
Yep.
This is like actual conversations where I just sometimes like things are told to me or said, and I'm just like, that does not make any sense. But and honestly, if there's another way we can do things and we can go around it and I can go around the person, I'm gonna do that until I get like some resolution that
Yep.
is more feasible for our site and our study, because we are trying to recruit these patients in our community, trying to provide these options. We need this data. We need to make sure these medications do work on our patient population, because guess what? When they're FDA approved, those sponsor reps are quick to come to my community and try to meet with all these physicians and like try to get them to prescribe the medication. But yet, if you look at the data, none of our patients in our communities were part of these trials. Like, that's not okay. That's not okay. And how do we know it's going to work, right? Let's just say Latino patients. But if we had more data and we had the information out there, these providers would be better equipped with these tools to be able to assess a patient better and maybe see like, okay, well, based on the data, maybe this is not the most ideal. So let's skip that one and go with these, right? And treat these patients a little faster, because we do have situations, a lot of situations where patients have to go through multiple different medications until they find the right one. And that's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this question because one of my challenges, because I feel like we're both in the same position. We work in the community. We have a passion for our community. But then we also work in the professional space, where we're doing the research. We have the sites, we're talking to the sponsors. So we're like middle, right? Like we want to do this, and then we want to also make sure we're addressing things in the community. So my question is, how do you balance your professional leadership with your personal mission to like keep your community uplifted? How do you balance that? That's something.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot of work, because I'm not just a site owner. There's other things I'm doing. Thankfully, I have an amazing team. So we do have a site manager. We have several coordinators, research assistants, pre-screener recruiters, community engagement. We have one full-time. We're trying to grow that, bringing on a business development manager. So I'm growing my team to be able to kind of pull back, in a sense, to be able to focus on the other things that, maybe we need to focus on, but not the whole day-to-day thing, right? That I don't need to do anymore, because now I have the team. My site manager is there pretty much every day, Monday through Thursday, and Friday remotely. Some of our staff work, but so any day-to-day stuff is more her. And then I'm more like the admin, right? Financial, getting studies. Still very involved though in the community engagement, advertising aspect of it. And still working with our site manager, as we're always trying to improve. We're always trying to see how can we be more efficient, where are our delays, where are our gaps, how can we fix them? It's always a process, a learning process. We're not perfect. No, I don't think there's any perfect site, but you're aware of that, and how do you improve that so you can make it better? We're in the process, probably the next couple months, we're going to reevaluate a lot of things and see how we can be even more successful, right, in 2026.
I love that, because it sounds like you're building a team that is going to be culturally competent, that knows how to go out here in the community and speak their language. And it's so important. That is super important.
Yeah, it is. And so, for example, community engagement, we have Vanessa, who is full-time. And thankfully, over the years, she's established a lot of good relationships with people in the community. Now she's attending a bunch of events. She's connected. We're doing a lot in the Alzheimer's space in our community. She's connected with a lot of like senior day facility, like rec centers, where they host events for them. Now with our collaboration with the Global Alzheimer's Platform, we have a lot more support for the community engagement. And so now we're going to do a lot more in the community. We have their mobile response unit, which is the mobile unit that comes down. And so we're doing that, and we're actually growing that team too, because we need more than one person to
Exactly.
probably
It's a lot of,
coordinate. It's becoming a lot. That's why I stepped in. Our site manager, we're trying to help in what we can until we figure out
yeah,
how we expand that role. But the point is that what we're trying to do is make sure that every single person knows who Sun Valley Research Center
that's
is,
right.
what are we doing, what are clinical trials, why you should participate, ensure that we have everything out there in English and Spanish. Social media, we do a lot of social media educational posts aside from study posts. We do presentations, lunch and learns. If a school wants us to go speak at career fair, I'll do it because I think it's important. I've done it at
Yep.
my daughter's. We
I
also
love
do it
that.
once in a
I've done
while.
that before too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody wants just to do a presentation to their staff internally, like we'll
Yep.
do it because that's just another group of people that we're
Yep.
educating about research and what we
Yep.
do, whether or not they participate. But guess what? Now they know about us and now they
Yep.
see the name and they're going to connect. And maybe in the future, there might be a study they might be interested or they might
Yep.
know a neighbor or friend. The other good thing in communities like ours is word of mouth. Word of mouth, it works wonders. If you
Yep.
have someone participate in a study, they have a good
Have a
experience,
good
they
experience.
loved it, they are going to tell like 5 or 10 other people.
Yep.
And this is
Yep.
especially true for the older patient population.
Yep.
We had a memory study, or we've had another one now, and they had a good experience. They go back and tell like their neighbors, everybody
Yep.
living in the apartment complex. The next thing you know, they bring in 5 other people. They're like, hey, we have these 5 people that want to
Perfect.
do it. And
Perfect.
that's you're doing a good job. I think, if you
Yeah.
you have
That's
patients
that
that are bringing in
snowballing
other
effect. That's that
right,
snowballing effect. Like,
exactly,
I think we should
exactly,
even, I had thought a little while back, even like a referral program, like
right.
where people actually they get something out of
Yeah, and
referring
we do
others.
that. Actually, we
Okay.
don't have it, like we don't promote it yet because we were trying to figure
Uh-huh.
out like how do we announce that. But for the patients that have done that and
Yeah.
really brought in, like we were giving them like a little bonus. Thank you for
Look,
doing that. Like you didn't have to,
good.
but thank
I
you for
think
doing that. Like a
I
little
think that's great.
$25. Yeah. But we're trying to officially see how like we roll that out
Yeah.
for others. And then we've
Yeah.
had like college students that participate in our studies that were
Yep.
advocates and also told other college
Yep.
students. And same thing, we'll give them a little thank you bonus for each referral because that's just like extra. They didn't have to do that, but the fact they did that and then just, each person they tell and the next person, like that's how we're going to spread this message about research. That's how we're going to reach everyone. And
Mhm.
even then, we've been in the community so long, we still haven't reached everyone. There's still a chunk of people that we're missing. So
Of
we're working
course.
on that.
Okay, so that's leading up to our last question, and we're gonna get out of here. But for the listeners, how do they support your mission? How do they support Sun Valley? How do we get involved in the work?
Yeah, I mean, for all sponsored CROs out there, if you're looking to place your studies and you're looking for a diverse community, specifically would be large Latinos, please reach out to Judy at sunvalleybee.com, Sun Valley Research Center. We'd love to work with you. We have a lot of amazing other physicians interested in research that we're trying to get set up. For those interested in Latinos in clinical research, save our sites. You can go to our website, which is latinosinclinicalresearch.com for more information, or saveoursites.com to find out about our conference or our in-person regional events. We're also hosting upcoming one in December in Houston, next one in Raleigh, North Carolina. These are more intimate setting type
Yeah.
meetups aside from our conference. We definitely be interested in working with any sponsors, CROs, vendors, anybody else interested in any of those initiatives. Definitely reach out to us.
Yeah, and then if you are living in Imperial County,
Yes. And
you
so for
know,
the patients or any physician, any organization,
yeah,
patients interested in research,
yeah,
same thing, reach out to Judy at sunvalleybee.com. We want to work with everyone. So we want more research trials in Imperial County. We
yep,
want more trials in other therapeutic areas. And we believe other physicians should also be working in clinical trials. So for those who are interested, we are going to get them set up with research. We provide the infrastructure, the experience, and we're planning to integrate research into their clinics. So the more the merrier. Like I'm looking forward to the day where I can see all kinds of research studies in Imperial County. That's what I'm looking
yeah.
forward to.
It's gonna happen. You doing it, you doing the work, and we getting the word out there. So it's gonna happen. Thank you so much, Judy. I so appreciate your voice on my platform, Voices of Inclusive Research. This is so important to me, and your voice matters. We love it. We love it. We thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was my pleasure. And thank you. Thank you for everything you do as well.
Oh, thank you. Okay, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.